Hello everyone, I'm here today with Kourtney Zando, Vice President of Income Protection at Barnum Financial Group. We're here to discuss something that most people don't think about or talk about very often, which is protecting our income. Kourtney, thanks for being here today. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Why don't we dive in? So let's start with the basics. I ask clients, why do we go to work each day? Could most people retire tomorrow?
That's a very great question, actually. So the short answer would be no. Most people cannot just wake up and decide they're going to retire tomorrow. If you think about it in the sense of how much your paycheck actually means to your everyday life, you could think of it in the aspect of, could you take a 6-month vacation starting tomorrow and be okay after those 6 months? Usually people are going to say no, and that's kind of the driver for how important your income is.
So when I talk to clients about benefits, we talk about health insurance, 401k, their salary, but what's the real foundation here?
Great question. So when you think about those things, right, how do you pay for all of those things? How do you deposit money into your 401k for retirement? How do you pay for that car that you're driving to work every single day? And the answer is your income. So your ability to earn your income is your most valuable asset by far. And it allows you to do all of those things that you like to do every day, whether that is going on that family vacation, funding your child's college, maybe paying for their wedding. The reality is that your income your income drives all of those things in order to keep everything going.
Okay, but doesn't Social Security disability kick in at some point?
Great comment about Social Security disability, Hank. So a lot of times people think that they can rely on their Social Security disability paycheck in order to keep their house running, right? Cover their mortgage, utilities, their groceries. We like to call it their mug. But in reality, Social Security isn't typically being reviewed by somebody at the Social Security Administration for a good year and a half. The average wait time they're saying on applications, if you call into that hotline for Social Security disability, is again a year and a half for them to review that first application. And on average, it takes 3 times to apply in order for you to even get approved if you're going to be approved. Then after that, right, this average Social Security disability paycheck is just about $1,500 a month. Most clients cannot rely on the $1,500 a month for the rest of their lives. So Social Security is not something that we tell clients to rely on when it comes to covering their expenses.
So what about the disability coverage that most of my clients have through their employers?
So the group coverage that most of the clients will have through their employer is great coverage. I would never tell anybody not to enroll into that coverage. It's always something that you want to opt into if you have the ability to opt into it. That being said, group coverage is typically not sufficient enough to cover most clients' goals should something happen to them where they are unable to work for an extended period of time. When you're thinking about the group disability, you want to think about the fact that there's going to be caps on that percentage of income that they're covering. Most of the time, somebody will say that they're covering, or their employer will cover 50% to $5,000 a month, right? So what that means is that if you are making a higher income earner and you make more than that on a monthly basis, you are going to be capped at that $5,000 a month and no additional income will be coming in. In addition to that, you have to think about that it's going to be typically taxed because your employer is paying for it. So that means that that $5,000 a month is now going to be taxed. So you might be looking more like $3,000 a month. And you want to think about the definitions of disability and how the contract language is going to apply to you should you become disabled to make sure that that's actually going to cover your need. Typically, we always recommend supplementing that group coverage through your employer, especially if you're somebody that has high income when it's coming through commission, bonuses, maybe they have restricted stocks. Most of the time, their group coverage is not covering that. They're only covering their base salary. So looking at supplementing is a huge piece of a financial plan when it comes to truly covering their income.
Wow, so you're telling me if I have a client that's a surgeon that's making $50,000 a month and they're only covered up to $5,000 a month and then it's taxable. Is that what I understood?
That's correct.
Wow, that's
so
crazy.
There's a huge gap that people don't truly realize until they're going on claim.
When people hear disability, they tend to think about accidents and broken bones. Is that generally what you see for most cases where people are making claims?
Actually, Hank, typically the majority of the claims come from either an illness or a musculoskeletal issue that the client has had. Lots of times, right, people kind of object to purchasing disability insurance because they always have the mindset that it will never happen to me. A lot of times people think that, okay, disability means the wheelchair at the grocery store parking lot. when in reality, it's more of if you come down with an illness or sickness, such as cancer, right, any heart issues. Mental health is also covered through disability insurance, which I think a lot of times people are not under that impression that it does cover it. I think mental health is a big one that people don't realize that disability can cover. So no, the majority of the times the claims are coming from something other than an accident or an injury that could typically get you back to work.
So how would we go about explaining disability coverage in simple terms?
The way that I would say to people that don't truly understand disability insurance and what it covers is that at minimum, you want to try to have something in place. If you go down your checklist today and you decide that if you are unable to work tomorrow for 6 months, a year, average claim is about 3.5 years. So if you were tomorrow, right, if something happened to you, God forbid, would you be able to sustain the current lifestyle with what you currently have saved, or what you'd be taking in from an income standpoint if you weren't able to bring in that paycheck? And try to maybe not cover all of your expenses, but just the expenses that you truly need to get by. Like I said before, your mortgage, utility, your groceries. We always say cover your mug, or in some cases you could say rug, cover your rent, utilities, and groceries. So something is better than nothing, and policies are very customizable to fit your need. So if you start with something today that you decide 10 years from now is not a right fit for you, you can modify that and change it as needed.
Kourtney, how customizable are each of these policies?
That's kind of the perk of having an individual disability policy to supplement your group coverage that you might have through your employer. Each policy is completely customizable to that specific client's needs, whether that is how long the waiting period is or how long the benefit period is for that client might depend on where they are in their life. There's a bunch of different riders and ways that we can customize the policy to fit that specific client need based on where they are in their life.
Kourtney, thank you for meeting with me today. It's always a pleasure sitting down with you. This is a critical part of financial planning, and it's always a pleasure to learn a little bit more about it. So thank you for making the time for us today.
Thanks for having me, Hank.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to the future of disability.